Hello, everyone, and thank you for checking this out. I apologize for the crude production details here. I was hoping to do this as a Google Meet video, but I had to pay extra for that service apparently, and I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I'd rather spend my money on diecasts, so we're just going to have to make do with this. But anyway, this is my legendary NASCAR championship proposal, copyright 2021. Any characters presented are purely fictional. Any resemblance to real people or places, as you can see, is likely to be entirely deliberate. I don't anticipate much of that, but just wanted to cover that legality in case it came up. So, what was the philosophy that kind of drove this idea as I got to thinking about it? I hear from a lot of people that drivers who win a lot of races during the season should have a strong chance to win the championship. Haven't had anybody to say outright that the most wins should equal a championship, but definitely should be in the thick of it. Season-long consistency. I've heard other people say that season-long consistency should be a major key for winning a season-long championship. I've also heard that every race should have as much riding on it as possible. Another influencing factor is that when I was a lot younger, Need for Speed Underground, the first one, not even the second one, but the original one for the PS2, I believe, was a very big part of my life for several years, and we're going to see its influence on this just a little bit. And of course, as highlighted in bold, more than anything else, the biggest thing driving this is our ability to complain and whine and be as miserable as possible must be preserved at all costs. Nothing else is paramount to that. So don't worry. You guys are going to have plenty of opportunity to tell me everything that's wrong with this system. But let's lay out some groundwork. What would this system look like? As I mentioned, Need for Speed Underground. Some of the races in that, if you played that, were these 3-lap knockout races or elimination races. At the end of every lap, whoever was in last place was eliminated until you come down to just your one winner. So I would apply that principle to the first 35 races of the 35 points races of the regular season. At the end of each one of those races, one driver would be eliminated. Okay, now the most straightforward way is if, whichever driver finishes in last place that race. Now there could be some other ways that one driver per race gets eliminated. For instance, if you've got 40 drivers that start the Daytona 500 and only, and then somebody gets eliminated at the end of that one, and then say the next race you only have 36 or 37 drivers. One of those drivers that doesn't make the field the following week will be eliminated. Okay? And I pointed that out in the second bullet point there. If you got more than one driver that is at risk of elimination, then you go by points, and whichever one was lowest in the points breaks the tie on that and gets eliminated. All right? And again, I'm not going to read you all of these slides word for word. You guys are too smart for that. At least I think. So if you guys want to pause it to look over some of these details more carefully, feel free. You got a pause button, have fun. All right. So generally what that would mean is after 35 races, we would enter the 36th race with a minimum of 5 drivers still being eligible for the championship. All right. There's a little bit of nuance that we're going to throw in to keep things a little bit more interesting potentially. All right, and I call these, basically I call these my wild cards. So we're going to look at that. All right, we got 2 non-points races a year. They have these big cash prizes, and usually you get your diecast made and stuff like that. Cool stuff. We're going to add something to that. If you win one of those non-points races, you earn what I'm calling a get-out-of-jail-free card. In other words, if you have a bad race, if you blow an engine, if you get taken out by a wreck at the beginning of a race following that, and you're set to be eliminated, you can use that get-out-of-jail-free card that you get from either winning the Clash or winning the All-Star race to keep yourself in contention. All right. Now, if you use that, the elimination does not then get pawned off on another driver. So it doesn't work that way. All right, so at the end of the day, it's ultimately going to create a situation where we may have more than 5 drivers championship eligible going into the last race. All right. In addition to that, there can be the possibility of 2 wild cards. If you're not in that, if you're not among that championship 5 that made it that far without getting eliminated, but you're still the points leader at the end of 35 races, you earn a wild card. You're championship eligible. Same thing if you've led the league in wins that year. You earn a wild card regardless. Now, I think in most cases, your points leader and your wins leader most likely is going to be encompassed within that top 5. But if they have that fluke bad race, blow an engine, wreck out early, etc., that's their way of still being in spite of that one bad race. All right. One last little point I want to throw in. If a driver gets suspended for whatever reason by NASCAR or by their team, then, that eliminates their playoff eligibility regardless. So just real cut and dry on that one. All right. I would introduce a pinch hitter rule. All right. If a championship eligible driver has to miss a race because of an illness, such as COVID, of course, that's a classic example these days, or because of an injury like a concussion, something like that, they and their team can pick a lower series driver to pinch hit for them for that 1 week. And, the points that pinch hitter earns follows the driver being substituted for. And the finish follows as well. So if the pinch hitter driver finishes well enough to prevent that driver from being eliminated, that driver gets to stay in. That's how that would work. All right, again, if you want to look at that in more detail, feel free to use your pause button. I'm already up to over 7 minutes, though, so I'm trying to keep this brief. All right, so how would the end of the season look? And most important of all, when would we all get to complain about stuff? All right. If I'm doing the math right, at the end of the season, the last race of the year, we could have as many as 9, as few as 5 championship contending drivers. Highest finisher wins the season championship. I figure by then, you've had every opportunity to put yourself in that position. You got one race, it's put up or shut up. And I know a lot of you guys right out of the gate are going to complain about that. And that's cool. There's complaint opportunity number 1. Have at it. All right. Other opportunities to complain. Of course, we're going to have people to put together these really complex, esoteric, really hard to articulate arguments, elaborating why a driver you don't like shouldn't be in, or elaborating why a driver you do like should be in spite of all these rules. All right. Another opportunity to complain. This will be a completely new system. Therefore, it automatically sucks. Of course, it would keep a few things the same, such as the final race determining the champion ultimately. Since some things would be the same, therefore it automatically sucks. So there you go. Lots to complain about there. All right. Of course, anytime any driver not named your favorite driver wins the championship, the system sucks. So plenty of opportunity to pitch a fuss over that there. And of course, the opportunities to complain and whine and be generally miserable are not limited just to this list. I fully anticipate an entire litany of complaints that I can't even conceive of right now. So, if there's anywhere where NASCAR fans do prove to be creative and inventive in their thinking, it's in figuring out new things to complain about. So I'm sure that people will not let me down on that. All right. So anyway, that kind of wraps things up. Feel free to drop your complaints in the comments. Tell me everything that's wrong with the system. I'm sure there's a lot. You guys have a great day and hope you guys try to enjoy the race today.